All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course, where I do see a lot of people are waiting and chat is working, so no problems. I'm going to keep this a little bit short today, and I'm going early, you may have noticed, about an hour and a half early. That's because I got some errands to run. I've got to go out to the bank and pick up lunch and shit like that. It's Asian Day. It's time to go to the Kong Chow in Rutland, Vermont, of course, if you're ever in the Rutland area. They do have really, really good food. I knew the family that owned it before they changed it up, and now it's the new Kong Chow Fusion. But the menu is basically the same, and it's still delicious. I see a Perfect Cracker says tits. No, it's no tits Tuesday. No tits for you. We have to talk about Rudy Giuliani's titty diatribe. Claims my tits. Claims my tits. Those tits are mine. Nobody else can touch them, you know? So yeah, I'm going to be doing some stuff this afternoon, so I figured I would just go live early. Basically, I can go live a bit early and get those things done, get back home by 1 or thereabouts, or I can go after the quartering goes, because he's been very friendly to me. He helped me set up the Fidium that I've got here, which is way better than Comcast, etc. I like the dude, so I wanted to defer to him. So he has his own time slot that he's actually, I think, contractually obligated to be in. He's got to deal with Rumble, I guess. So, yeah, no tits Tuesday. It's not Taco Tuesday. No, not tacos today. Maybe a stir fry or something like that. As long as it has those delicious straw mushrooms in it. Mushrooms are one of the greatest foods. So versatile. Sticks, go to Killington to ski, says Darrow333. Nope, I don't go skiing. This time of year, I want to stay inside as much as possible, unless I'm doing something that involves fire, like the charcoaling I've been doing. By the way, I will try to do a charcoaling tutorial, way simpler than the online tutorials typically suggest. It's not actually that difficult. It's actually not that expensive, considering the return on investment. You're getting your money's worth and then some. Yes, I did see that the DC court rejected Trump's immunity plea, but that means nothing and was fully expected. So. It's, it means absolutely nothing. Basically, par for the course. Same legal persecution, same bullshit. Anyways, we've got things to cover today. Things that are actually meaningful and not completely predictable. The Nevada presidential primary is tonight. That is meaningless, but we're going to bant about that and why it's meaningless actually in a while. We've got King Charles. He's got cancer, actually. So he's all messed up, and he's fucking 75. So when you get cancer and you're in your 70s, 80s, the prognosis isn't necessarily the greatest. So we'll see what happens with the inbred King Charles, who waited so long to be on the throne, and then a few months later he fucking gets cancer. So he's probably like, fuck my life. Nikki Haley went on SNL. We'll talk about that. She bombed on SNL. And with the usual Trump derangement syndrome, there's a reason that they had her on there, of course. Joe Biden says that he recently met with Mitterrand. Problem that Francois Mitterrand died in 1996. And by the way, he was the president of France. Biden appears to believe he was the president of Germany. So again, another senior moment. The Kazakh president has dismissed the entire cabinet. They're reshuffling things over there. That's important. You'll remember that Kazakhstan had a mini revolution last year, actually. Anti-Russian or revolution of sorts. Is fairly short-lived. Cool country. Of course, not actually where Borat is from. Now, Sacha Baron Cohen is not Kazakh, and they filmed those parts in Romania, actually. And apparently people had a problem with that. But Kazakhstan is still cool. You look at some of the food that they've got there. I'd love to visit, but I don't know if Westerners really are legally safe in Kazakhstan. It tends to be more east aligned. It's on the border with Russia, and I don't want no problems. When in another's house, treat them with respect. Ukrainian-born Miss Japan relinquishes crown following alleged affair. Yes, the Miss Japan is actually Ukrainian by birth. That's funny part number one. I don't really care about that. It's like, whatever. People thought she was the prettiest in the talent competition. Nobody cares. But then it took her having an affair actually to get booted from her role. I don't know why you would relinquish the crown. It's like ex post facto. Who cares? Okay, she banged a married dude. I mean, that's might be skeevy, but has nothing to do with how pretty she is or anything like that. So We'll be talking about all of that and much, much more. By the way, links in the description to landofbiltong.com and Pumpkin Fire Crafts on eBay. You can get all sorts of good stuff from them. I'm also looking into a couple of other sites and people that want to sponsor me as well at this time. And get the money, get paid. Got to keep the lights on somehow. And with Bidenflation, everyone could use an extra Benji Green now and again. So it's going to be fun. And I think that you'll like the specific sites that want to sponsor me potentially. It's still in negotiation, of course. Tigers are my totem. Long time since I caught you live. Yeah, going early today again. I've got to go out to the bank later for a couple of things. And then also I've got to go and get food because fucking starving. Had pot roast last night, by the way. My dad made it. It was fucking delicious. You don't need a knife for that. You just shred it with your fork. It just falls apart. It was really well made. Pot roast is good. Big chunks of carrot and everything. Well, you know what I mean. Ken. Hey, Sticks, have you done an occult video on Santa Muerte yet? It's apparently the fastest growing Catholic and pagan cult worship in the world, despite the Catholic Church sharply rebuking worship of her. No, I have not yet. Santa Muerte, Saint of Death, I believe that would translate to roughly. Wicked Needle sent $4.99. By the way, this is from Wicked Needle Embroidery. And I've got some of the calling cards and stuff here, actually. TD. And again, another firm that I'm looking into with regards to merch and stuff like that. Joe Hoffman, you should get a hori knife for gardening. I mean, I don't think this is a hori. I don't know exactly what that means, but this was sent by a subscriber. It's got the little knock. That's for cut the roots, serrated side. You've got the measuring on it, so you know how deep you're digging. That is going to be great when the horseradish starts getting ready this spring. I'm going to haul up probably about half of it, probably about 20 pounds of horseradish or something like that. I'm seriously considering the idea of giving the roots to the neighbors. Hey, you like horseradish? You like spicy food? Here, it's fresh from the garden. Please take it off my hands because it's too much for me to fucking harvest. Harlow Rowe, thank you for your amazing work all of these years. Thank you very much for your donation, and I will try to continue to live up to your expectations. Be much more. Oh, there's going to be, you have no idea how much gardening I'm going to do this year. Oh, gardening, biochar. Try to teach people how to make nettle tea, by the way. That's a good idea. It increases the resistance of your plants to pathogens. Samantha Winter, are you afraid that Donald Trump could die? So many people his age are dying or seriously ill. What happens to MAGA then? Somebody else will take up the banner when he's gone, but I don't think he's in imminent danger of dying. He reasonably healthy for his age, unlike Joe Biden. OMG puppies. Baikonur rocket base is in Kazakhstan. There was an attempted color revolution there a couple years ago. They shut off the internet, shot everyone, and turned it back on like nothing had happened. Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe that's not the kind of country that I would necessarily be welcome in with my views. Although Kazakhstan does look wild, rugged, and beautiful. Yeah, you look at some of the fucking recipes there, I would definitely eat everything in sight. Sigil Stone got blocked by Razor Fist on not using the trope of dwarves and elves in his books that he didn't like. It pointed out that he has the worst trope of furries and acted like a cunt. I like Razor Fist, so just to put that out there. I'm oftentimes people say somebody's blocked me. Can you talk to them? And I'm like, it's their channel. It's not my place to really do that. Only very rarely have I interceded for other people to vouch for them in that manner. Molly Mesher, love you, Sticks. Keep fighting the good fight. I shall, of course. Anyways, first news story. Here's what you need to know about today's Nevada presidential primary. I'll tell you what you need to know. That it's bullshit. Nobody cares. And that's why I'm not going to be covering it live. Not just because I would have to be awake at 11 p.m. to do it. Also because it's basically a foregone conclusion. Here's what's happening in Nevada. And I believe in any Nevadans out there, can you confirm it's all mail-in? There's no in-person voting whatsoever in the primary. Anyway, they've got a primary tonight. They've got a caucus in 2 days. The caucus is state sanctioned. The GOP sanctions the caucus. That's awarding the delegates. Trump will win there. His only opponent's not even on the ballot. He'll probably get 80+% of the vote. The primary tonight, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, and a few others are on there, along with a bunch of also-ran candidates. Sort of like somebody from within state said, well, it'd be fun to run for the presidency. I'm going to get my name on the ballot. So they get the signatures and they get a few thousand votes. And then people pat them on the back and say, wow, man, you ran for president that time. You're cool. It's basically the point. But the primary means nothing because no delegates will actually be awarded. It's not sanctioned by the GOP. Nevada decided that it wanted to have an actual political contest. And they said, fuck the federal level GOP, fuck the state of Nevada, effectively, ironically enough. We're going to hold our own caucus and we're going to nullify the primary. You can hold it if you want, but we have decided to stick with the traditional system, which is a caucus. They were trying to force them to have a primary because, well, we had voting irregularities and all these problems. So we're going to switch to a primary system because it's more straightforward. It's faster to count the votes. Well, maybe so, but it means nothing legally speaking because no delegates will be awarded. I would suspect there is a good chance, not a certainty, but a good chance that in tonight's primary, Nikki Haley might come in second behind none of the above. There's a none of the above category too for the primary ballot, and I hope that everyone filled it out if you're eligible. And so I have a feeling that Nikki Haley might come in second place to nobody at all. For the few people that bother to ink the primary ballot alone, she probably ends up winning because the only one with name recognition still in the race on the ballot. The other one is Mike Pence, but he dropped out. So people aren't really going to waste their vote for him. But they need to understand that it's the caucus in 2 days that actually matters. I may or may not go live for that. It's at a very late time, unlike South Carolina or New Hampshire, the eastern coast states. Or even Iowa in the Midwestern region. It's a lot later. And I'm like, well, do I want to be up at midnight for a caucus whose results are predetermined, where Trump can't not win? It's impossible physically for him not to win. And really, I mean, I'm just going to sit there with my thumb up my ass ranting for 2 hours. Now, there are some people that would enjoy that, but, you know, at some point you got to sleep too. So, yeah, we may or may not go live in 2 days with the Nevada caucus results. I don't know. I'm still considering it. I don't know whether I'm going to bother or not. The race is basically over. South Carolina, I'll live stream. Better time zone, Eastern time. Nikki Haley's own home state, she's going to get ass blasted, humiliated there. So that'll be funny. It'll be funny to see how quickly they call the race for Trump. And they will. He will win the South Carolina primary, just as he's going to win the caucus in Nevada. But that one, you know, at least it's more meaningful. There is a contest there instead of having a primary where Nikki Haley's on the ballot and the caucus where Trump is, which doesn't really make sense. I would think that they could have probably fixed that problem and said, okay, Haley can be on the caucus ballot. Because, I mean, it would be funny to see, you know, what proportion of people vote for Trump versus Haley in Nevada. It would be telling ahead of the South Carolina primary, but they're not doing that. So I don't know exactly why. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Did you see Saki's in her panel's meltdown? Her and her analyst said the loud part out loud about seeking justice about rebel Trump. How dare the DC3 judge panel delay the immunity hearing? Foregone conclusion, doesn't really matter. Sigil Stone, oh, I don't want you to talk to him. If he's going to be a fucking punk, that's his problem. I just found it amusing. By the way, King of Biltong, I already shouted you and Pumpkin Fire out. But again, links in the description to several merch pages. Pumpkin Fire Crafts on eBay and landofbiltong.com. Also, in the description, there is a link to my books blog, the WordPress one. There's also a blog spot there. It's also available at the top pinned if you're watching on YouTube. You can get some good stuff. Ashley, glad I could catch you, Sticks. Being on Japanese time zone makes things hard to see you live. Big in Japan, I see. Eat sushi for me. Get some whale meat. I want to try that. I don't care if it's ethical or not. I just want to taste it, see how it tastes. Probably blubbery, but... Mind of a Madman 69. When are you starting your thrash band? The hat completes the look. No, there won't be a thrash band. Maybe a bluegrass band or something. Metalhead Madman. What's the word on the Texas border issue today? I heard they had some powers stripped. Yeah, but the Texans aren't dealing with it, and they're basically telling the feds to fuck off, so. Bible study with Matt. Hey, Tarl, did you hear 3 appellate judges said he doesn't have immunity? Yes, indeed. In relatively breaking news, the D.C. court has ruled that Trump does not have automatic presidential immunity. That case will continue forward. I mean, again, it was entirely expected. You know, you expected a D.C. court was going to rule in favor of Trump? Yeah, fat fucking chance. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, and Elizabeth Warren's not crooning yet. So, next news story. King Charles has cancer. What do we know about King Charles' cancer diagnosis so far? Your questions answered as the monarch, 75, steps back from royal duties to focus on his health. He had to focus on getting blasted with radiation and taking chemicals and shit like that. Apparently, he was admitted for surgery, but then they figured out he had cancer. So he's like, well, at least they caught it early. He's going to get the best health care in the world, so he'll probably recover. That being said, again, he waited, his mother, waited forever to die, and it clearly vexed him. Charles, in my opinion, is a really egotistical, cold fucking bastard. I think probably that the death of Princess Diana was related to something involving him. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that particular dynamic and what went on was a little bit mysterious at the time. I have a feeling she didn't really like the marriage towards the end there, and probably was banging around with someone else and got assassinated, actually. Whether it was on his orders or not remains to be seen. But he'll get the best medical care in the world. His prognosis is excellent because, again, even though when you're old, when you get cancer, it can be a problem. When you have 24-hour medical team and experimental treatments and everything else, you have access to things the average Joe public doesn't. And everything's taxpayer funded, so they'll go out of their way because they don't really want to perform surgery on the fucking king and accidentally kill him or something like that. You're probably going to survive. Although I'm sure there are people over there in Britain, Stan, that wish he wouldn't, that he would fucking bleed out on the slab or something like that. Now, the queen, she stubbornly clung to life because she was the last monarch who gave a little bit of a damn. And I think that was regrettable. I think she thought it was regrettable that the empire collapsed too, because she's born up in this massive ass empire where she can go anywhere in immediate recognition. And now she reigns over a rainy island plus a couple of other possessions, basically. With Charles, I think that he's always felt that he was owed that position. I want to be king someday. He wants to wear the crown and carry around the scepter and wear the robes and shit like that. And he has kind of a grumpy disposition. Right after he got coronated there, you remember, he was signing off on a piece of paper and he's complaining about the pen not working. It was basically like, oh, fuck you. You can't even get a pen right. And he seems like a grumpy bastard. By the way, I will always know him as the face of Frank Garrett, the epic soundboard prank call figure, actually, from back in the day. Yeah, I mean, if he dies, his son seems more respectable and decent than him. So, there are plenty of people praying for the cancer in that case, I think. I have a feeling that a significant proportion of the British population is like, can't you just fucking croak from this? B. Nick, I'm aware that coronated is not a word. However, it is in colloquial usage, so it does not matter. Yeah. Sonic leaves. Charles is sicker than he let on. Yeah, it could have been that the cancer had already been detected and that the prostate thing was a foil to get him into the hospital for treatment or something like that. But yeah, now his son takes command at some point. Not that it really matters, because in most European monarchies, it's just a formality. It's like, okay, in theory, the king or queen can dissolve parliament and change the parties that are in power and shuffle things up and do whatever they want to do, but they don't do that. Even though sometimes it would be justified, I think. Brock Sampson, 71, with all the fuckery going on with the courts and Trump, what do you think these judges will face any type of repercussions? No, they will face, unfortunately, no repercussions for their actions. Sigil Stone, Charles is such a gross bastard. He's literally rotting from the inside out now. Rotten piss, fucknut, enjoy hell. Well, again, I expect him to recover. Even if he's further along in his cancerousness than, is being led on to the public, he's getting, taxpayer-funded infinite health care of every possible kind. They're going to do everything that they can to keep him above ground. Aquafan. What seeds are you starting this year? I'm growing hot peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, and mustard. Started seeds about a month ago. We'll be transplanting outside later this month. I got a whole fucking bucket of seeds. This is my fuck it bucket, as in fuck hunger. Biden has made food more expensive, so I got Heritage Heirloom. They sent this to me. It's got like 100 varieties of seeds or something like that. And I've got a bunch of from Johnny's and stuff like that, so I'm going to be planting away. That's why I have to do so much charcoaling. I want to turn the entire garden into terra preta, because then things will grow much, much larger. Transylvanian 90. Usually after a long-lived monarch, the successor doesn't last long due to their age. Same happened when Victoria died. Edward VII ruled for less than a decade. Money Drip 6665. Washington State, my stupid state, diverted $340 million in federal COVID funds to immigrants, including $1,000 checks. Interesting. Rocky, how hot was Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island? Yeah, that was an eternal question. They used to poll it like every year. Do you prefer Mary Ann or Ginger from Gilligan's Island? Ginger was sort of like the bombshell model, like the Marilyn Monroe knockoff, and Mary Ann was sort of like the farm girl, like the girl next door sort of thing. And I don't know. Ginger is the last one still alive from the series, by the way. Doesn't look bad for her age. She's fucking ancient. She got arrested at one point for smoking pot in her car. I don't think Marianne had that problem. John Denver had that problem too. They were all smoking weed together. Yeah, I don't know. Am I a Marianne or a Ginger person? I don't know, honestly. I thought they were both attractive when I was a kid. And Marianne died long ago. Ginger's like 85 or something now, so... Hello, my fellow N-words. Supposedly he's getting cancer treatment from a private clinic, not public. Should tell how good their free healthcare is. Well, of course. Let's see. Next news story. And with that embarrassing move, Nikki Haley has to know she's finished. Yes, he went on SNL, actually, the Trump derangement so-called comedy network the other day, and appeared as herself. Embarrassing beyond embarrassing. SNL just had Nikki Haley appear as herself during the Republican town hall cold open. Ayo Edebiri, what do you think was the main cause of the Civil War? And do you think it starts with an S and ends with a lavery? Yes, they were crucifying her basically, and she's not funny. She's not a successful female comedian. I don't know what staffer told her it was a good idea to accept going on SNL. But from the little bit that I saw from it, because I don't watch SNL because it's not funny anymore, like somehow she manages to lower the threshold of unfunniness even further just by her mere presence. She's not funny. She's not intelligent. She's got no, I guess she's got no clue what's going on. She seems in denial about the fact that she lost in Iowa and New Hampshire. Yeah, I mean, her speech after losing and taking third in Iowa pretty much sums it up. Then she gets crushed in New Hampshire by double digits, despite single-mindedly focusing on the state. She never really put too much focus on South Carolina. She's about to get humiliated in her home state. In 2 days, she gets humiliated first in Nevada, though, in the caucus there. It's a foregone conclusion. I mean, Christ almighty, I don't know exactly what Nikki Haley's planning at this point. I'm almost thinking she's delusional enough to just stay in and hope for a brokered convention or something like that. When you go on SNL, especially a week after Liz Cheney has endorsed you, you've got 2 kisses of death. So now it's more French style. It's not just a single kiss, it's multiple kisses. Her campaign is effectively over. The money is drying up for a reason. And, she's clearly not going to be nominated. The Emperor's Champion throne. I despise the Senate for introducing such an abomination of a border bill and calling it a compromise. Yeah, the border bill's bullshit. And I talked about that earlier. It's not a compromise. Oh, it's bipartisan. Okay, so Dan Crenshaw and Mitt Romney like it. Okay, that really gives me hope. Green Glassful. You should get Clifford Bates on you with you sometime. The Joker. Why is Stolas an owl? That's just the way that he's depicted in the Ars Goetia. Mary Dugans, would you please wish happy birthday to my friend and fan of yours, JG. Happy birthday, JG. May you clank on for many more years to come. Let's see. We've also got to talk about, where is he here? Oh, yeah, never mind. Biden tells crowd he recently met with Mitterrand, former French president who died in 1996. The problem isn't that. So maybe it's like, oh, it's a slip of time. I'll say, so he met with him back in the 90s or something when he's a senator, shook his hand. That's believable. The problem is that he said that he was the German president. He didn't even remember what fucking country he was from. Yeah, he sees dead people. Exactly. Francois Mitterrand hasn't been in there in a while because he is a cadaver. So in other words, he probably looks physically, topically similar to Joe Biden by this point in the decomposition process. The man is clearly not well. He's having clear mental issues. This is not a stutter. It's not like when he was at the beer convention there in Milwaukee and he starts rambling and nobody's quite sure what he's saying, and that just doesn't make sense. Then he goes to listen to the beer barrel giving him political advice, which is probably the funniest thing that's happened so far in his presidency, actually. That and him falling down half a dozen times. You remember when he fell over the sandbag up on stage and like, oh, who put that there? Joe just doesn't look where he's walking. I mean, you can't see it anyway. Old squint eyes there, basically the elderly version of the Deliverance banjo kid. But when you get to the point where you're in politics and you're misremembering when you met with someone, which I can give him an aside for. Okay, you remember meeting with him back in the 80s or the 90s. I can actually believe that. But when you combine that with not knowing what country you're even referring to, isn't that a little bit of a bad position for the chief diplomat of the United States to be in? And if Donald Trump jokingly refers to Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi as being the same person, and quite clearly that was intentional, not unintentional, people start talking about how his cognitive decline is kicking in. Joe Biden, meanwhile, is misremembering meeting with someone 30 fucking years ago, getting the country wrong, and doesn't appear to know where he is half the time during the speech anyway. And people are like, well, he's very, very cognitively aware. He's doing so well for a man of his age. Don't be ageist. The Kiefer 522. Wise man once say, it's far better to have lobster on piano than crabs on your organ. Goodness. Cole Beckett. Hi, Sticks. I stumbled across Nikki's Twitter and X account and was horrified by the cringe posts. Whoever is running her page must secretly support Trump. Or they're just goddamn inept. Just like Elizabeth Warren's meme team. The Joker. What did Stolas look like to you then? Looked more similar to the demon form of Stolas from Hell of a Boss, ironically. It's actually a fairly good rendition. OMG puppies. Slavery was an issue questionable as the cause of the Civil War. Lincoln supported a constitutional amendment to guarantee slavery to encourage the South to not succeeding, called the Corwin Amendment. Yes, I've studied that. He was also a member of the same societies Henry Clay founded, which wanted to repatriate former slaves back to Africa. And their big thing was, hey, they don't belong here. They're not from this continent. Not that we were either, technically, but they have no place here. They should go back and be in the tropics because that's, where they're supposed to be. God intended it to be. So they literally allude to the Bible. And so God gave us all these different places and we're different. We belong to different climates. We eat different food and stuff. They belong back there. And that was the big thing. Lincoln had no problem with slavery, or only a topical one. He simply didn't want black people around, quite literally. Wasn't until after he was dead that everyone fully got emancipated and slavery was abolished anyway. It was still legal in several states when he got himself beaned. The dashing rogue. Why Stolas ain't he responsible for white girl magic? A bridge too far. The border security bill gives more money to Ukraine than the U.S. Marine Corps yearly budget. Yeah, no, it's bullshit. So yeah, Biden is now conducting necromancy. I'm sad to announce that Joe Biden has become a dark sorcerer and is raising the spirits of the dead to converse with them. I'm sorry, I could not laugh trotting that one out. Kazakhstan's president has dismissed the entire cabinet. The government of Kazakhstan is now in flux. Again, not major news story. This happens sometimes in the developing world on a regular basis, but Kazakhstan has had quite a few socio-political problems lately. Again, there was the attempted color revolution there last year. Wasn't successful, but it happened. A lot of resources in the country, huge amount of minerals. Fucking, you look at the economy of Kazakhstan and how disproportionate it is compared to most economies in the world. It's not a monoculture. They got a lot going on there. Russia wishes they hadn't ceded them. They're like, shit. We should have just let go of the other countries. We should have kept Kazakhstan, I think. Big country, cool food. By the way, if you look up Kazakh recipes and stuff, I'd really love to replicate some of them. I like goat. I like beets, et cetera, et cetera. It looks like a cool place. I'd love to visit it. But again, it's more like, if I visited there, am I going to get gulagged or something like that? I like to think not, but I'm not exactly a friend of the Eastern Bloc mentality. So I think that I'll skip that one for now. Technically still a socialist country, although not 100%. Kind of more balanced and more like a Chinese model, I suppose, than anything else, I guess. Katrina Games. Looks like the courts decided that Trump does not have immunity for undetected or something. Election, I think. Thoughts. Foregone conclusion. It was entirely predictable that the D.C. court was going to reject his claim. The bonus hole. Slavery is still legal if used as punishment for a crime as per the 13th Amendment. True. Illegal aliens are an untapped resource. Yeah, slavery is all over the world, too. Plenty of slaves in Libya. Thanks, Hillary Clinton, by the way. Real cool. Plenty of slaves in Asia, especially trafficked into China. Rich businessmen buy like Thai women and Filipino women and, rape them and use them as house workers. John Marafa. Sticks ranting. Yes, thumb up his ass. Kind of gross. The Joker. To be fair, the idea to relocate them to Africa originated from Thomas Jefferson because he feared there would be race wars. Yes, but the ultimate society to actually found Liberia, etc., that happens later. That's not Thomas Jefferson. He was fucking one of his slaves. Had a bunch of kids, actually. This was joked about in political cartoonistry at the time. Barra. It was Marianne busted for pot in 08, not Ginger. I could have sworn it was Ginger, Tina Louise, that got busted for pot. Either that or they both got busted for pot. I mean, considering that particular show's cast, Bob fucking Denver? No, Bob Denver would never smoke. Bob Denver never partied. He was family friendly and shit. By the way, got typecast as Gilligan and never worked a fucking again for the most part. He's like, oh, thank God the continuing reruns of this show are bringing in the bacon. We've got the Gilligan's Island cookbook out there. I can't wait to make some of those recipes. As a kid, Gilligan was my favorite. I had the white Gilligan hat, actually, as a kid. The little white sailor's hat. Man, I thought that series was so great. And then they put it up against Gunsmoke in its own slot. And they wonder why the series got canceled. Everyone in the cast was preparing to go back to film the fourth season. They got shit canned. The ultimate back then, the kiss of death wasn't Liz Cheney's endorsement. It was, hey, you have to compete with Gunsmoke. Oh, I'm sure that will last a long time. Well, no shit, our ratings crumbled. Yeah, John Denver was great. Gilligan, the Skipper too. You know that song. Everyone knows it. OC Ripper sent $1.99. No comment, thank you. Chris Manal, what do you think of Dr. Robert Epstein's views on Timcast that Trump has zero chance of winning because of Google's ability to hugely influence voters? I disagree. I think that polling bears that out. The Joker. That whole Sally Jennings thing was proven to be a myth decades ago. Yeah. John. No, Gilligan's hat was white. If they've recolored it to be some other color, then that's something else. Yeah, Bob Denver. Sorry, I'm getting John and Bob Denver mixed up. John Denver is the dude who crashed his plane and died. Yes, I got it wrong. My apologies. Joy Reid, what do you predict Trump will do his first day in office besides securing the border? Will he finally fire the alphabet agencies, possibly the IRS? I have a feeling that on day one, mainly it'll be forming his cabinet and striking down Biden-era executive orders and issuing his own. He has pledged to drill, baby, drill on day one, so that would be one executive order. The natural gas one, that goes the way of the dinosaur. So energy exploration, I think, is number one, because that's easier, because it's all been done in the executive, not legislative capacity. It's easier to override. After that, it's probably just the border and inflation constantly. That and attempting to quiet things down in some of the other nations that we're currently at war with. By the way, please send no more super chats, because I have to cover this one last news story. And again, I'm going to keep it a little bit short today. Early and short. Jens Peterson, speaking of UK, which is your favorite Primarch in Warhammer 40k? I like Nurgle. I don't know a whole lot about Warhammer, but I do know that I like Papa Nurgle. I'm a song. To be fair, Bob Denver played the hippie beatnik Maynard G. Krebs in The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Oh. The Gunslinger. Hemming's rumor was started by a rival of Jefferson. No, I'm pretty sure that Jefferson fooled around with his slave. It appears to be. I don't think that's been fully debunked. I don't know about that. He was a very cosmopolitan man. He's like, wow, shit. It's gonna be fun. Essential Liberty, been crazy busy. I'll contact you soon about sponsorship. Shipping to California, new now. Ammo 10% off promo, clank at mtpu.com. Yes, I actually checked your site for contact earlier. There's a phone number, but there's no email contact. So DM me on Twitter at your leisure. I am interested in the possibility. I like ammo. Leaf on the Wind. Hey, Sticks, have you ever considered playing Armored Core 6? I know it's outside your usual preferences, but really fun and has a shit ton of occult alchemical references hidden in it. No, I don't really do any gaming at this point. I don't have time. I've got too much outdoor work to do. The Gunslinger. No, it was debunked. The rival was a journo. Ironic. Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting. Oh, no, I thought it was canonical and shit. Anyway, who cares? I don't care if he boffed his slave. Ukrainian-born Miss Japan relinquishes crown following alleged affair. Yes, the Ukrainian-born Miss Japan was already controversial for the last couple of weeks. I don't really care about fashion stories myself, but this is a funny one. She's from Ukraine originally. She was born there. Knows fluent Japanese, has been in, Japan for, the subsequent rest of her life, most of her life, but won the Miss Japan crown. And I mean, I don't really mind. I don't care about that, nor do I care that she had an affair. Who gives a fuck? Okay, she fucked a married man. So what does that have to do with how she looks? Her pageantry bullshit. What I thought was funny, though, was that she was arguing for diversity. She was saying, well, people in Japan just haven't quite accepted diversity, and I think it's a real big problem. It's like, okay, you're not even from the country originally. You're naturalized, but you're not physically from the country in the central sense. You're not part of the ethnic conglomerate that makes up 98% of Japan. How dare you, therefore, complain about them needing to be more accommodating when you're already being accommodated? You just got crowned Miss Japan. People clearly do not have a fucking problem with you. So what's the fucking point? It's very funny that she's of Ukrainian nationality originally, because it's like, okay, I'm a little bit on the nose. I have a feeling that the judges, they're like, oh, this will be big in the news. Let's get us more attention. That's a good thing. So now she's relinquished her crown. I wouldn't have, by the way, if I were her. I would have said, oh, yeah, I had sex. All right. What does that have to do with how pretty I am or anything like that? And then the Japanese nationalists, there's some historians that are complaining about the fact that she's not ethnically Japanese. And it's like, okay, this is a pageant. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. Who gives a fuck? Nobody. She's complaining. They're complaining. People in the West are complaining. I mean, they're weighing in on it with these strong-held opinions. I'm just like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit? I just don't understand. And I mean, she is pretty. I don't know, but she won the contest. I don't understand why she would relinquish, her little princess crown though over boffing someone. Okay, you're an adult. Adults have sex. Ta-da! What is it? Does that make someone dirty? You can't be the beauty queen anymore because a penis was inside of your vagina. I just don't 100% know. No, I don't think that it was one of the judges she was boffing. I don't think so. I think it was just a generic married man. Organizers of the event, meanwhile, released a statement saying that Shino had requested to withdraw from the contest due to personal reasons. Kaoru Wada, chair of the Miss Nippon Association, added that the 24 title will remain vacant. I don't know. I don't really, I just don't, I'm not paid enough to care. The only reason I'm talking about it is because I am paid to give my opinions on things. Rocky, how do you discern the truth between the narratives of Lincoln wanting blacks out of America and Lincoln actually wanting to free slaves? He freed slaves in the southern states as a military strategy, nothing more. No slaves were freed in the northern states because of any edict by Lincoln. They did it by their own consent. The states, they developed legislation or had other decisions that were made at the state level. I would remind you, a couple of states had slavery after the war was actually physically over. Delaware was one of them, actually. And European press at the time, they swore up and down that it was way worse to be a slave in the northern states than in the southern states, that it was more brutal, actually, which I can believe. So, yeah, I'm probably going to go offline now. Let's see. Yeah, I already read that one out. Because, again, I have to run a few errands. I have to go to the bank. That's why I'm early today instead of late. Because otherwise, I would wait for the quartering to be over, and then I'd be going really, really late for my schedule's purposes. I'm hungry. I've got banking stuff to do. I may or may not look into garden supplies. Probably not, because it's fucking frigid out. It's like 20 degrees, and I'm just not having it. I wish I was at Anton's in Roanoke, Texas, landofbiltong.com, of course, eating some bison or something like that. It's probably 60 degrees down there. Then head off to South Padre Island. And it's probably 75 there. It's fucking palm trees and shit. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I'm going to go offline now. I thank you to the nearly 4,000 people who tuned in live. I know that it was an odd hour. Tomorrow I'll try to get back to the normal schedule. Keep in mind, Thursday, I may or may not stream during the day. If I do a Nevada caucus stream, I'll just do that in the evening. and I won't do my mainstream. I may live react to it, even though it's entirely predictable. Later on, I may do a news video or tomorrow or something talking about the primary results, but they literally don't matter. So there's the Nevada Bantz in a nutshell. Nobody cares. That's about all. Peace out.